Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Tim, and today I'm continuing my playthrough of Skies Above Britain. In the previous episode we covered the first 5 scenarios, the dogfight scenarios, basically just to teach you the mechanics of the dogfight cycle. This episode we're going to move on to the next, I believe it's 3 scenarios, maybe 4. 6, 7, 8, and 9. So it's 4 scenarios, which cover the bomber cycle. So without further ado, let's get into that. But actually, before we get to the bomber scenarios themselves, there's one thing that I wanted to go over that I failed to mention in the dogfight playthroughs, and it's regarding maneuvers, and in particular the evade maneuver. So let's just set up an example here and say that we've got the red section here being tailed by a swarm of 110s, and we are going to perform an evade maneuver. Get the Spitfire deck here. So I mentioned previously that when you perform an evade maneuver, let me get the marker for that out here, that you get to draw 2 dogfight cards from the appropriate deck, and then choose which result you want. Also, you get to apply an automatic reduce result after applying all the results on the card that you chose. What I failed to mention is that in addition to those 2 benefits, you can also have one of your fighters split off from the formation, and then you can choose to have whatever fighter marker is left, assuming there is one, either follow that fighter or stay with these two fighters. Or say you only had a section of 2 fighters, then you could split one off and choose to either have the remaining fighters follow the one that split off or stay on the one that remained. So that was just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. As I was rereading the rules last night, I realized I forgot to mention that. So, that being covered, let's move on to our first bomber scenario. So this is going to be scenario 6, Lame Duck. It's the 12th of August, 1940. Flatter here so you can read it with me. 32nd Squadron scrambles at 1740 hours and spots a raid of Ju-88s crossing the coast near Portsmouth. 188 appeared to detach itself from the main formation, reported Flying Officer John Humferson. I went in to attack. I put in a short burst. You control Humferson's Hurricane, Green 1, as he targets the lone straggling bomber and tries to bring it down. So we're going to need a Junkers marker and Green Leader, the Hurricane version. So they comprise the bomber formation area, and the approach step of the bomber cycle has already taken place. So situate Green Leader so that it is approaching the bomber's flank. Begin this training scenario with the burst step of the bomber cycle. And we're going to continue round after round until the bomber is either destroyed or we end up in a fate box, or we no longer have ammo, or if we go lost contact. So that's the situation. Also, as part of the setup, we're going to put 2 damage markers on the bomber, but we will ignore any catastrophic effects if any of them have that, and we'll explain what those are as we go. All right, so let's set that up here. So here's our bomber. Here is Humpherson approaching from the port side. And then we need to get 2 damage markers and put on there. Let's get this a little more centered. Our first one, and one note on these damage markers that go on the bombers. You notice one side says spit, the other side says her. So depending on what fighters you're using, you'll use one side or the other. So we're using Hurricanes. In this case, it's no difference, but sometimes it is. So he's got a wing damage already, and an engine damage. Now in this case, this means he would automatically fall out of formation, but in this case he's already a lone bomber, so he's already out of formation, so nothing else to do there. All right, so let's first of all, let's take a look at, let's find where it is. I think this is on the interception map. There's a chart that explains how much damage it takes to bring down the various types of bombers. So Stukas, which are the light bombers, are a lot easier to destroy. Any 3 damage markers or 1 cockpit damage. Cockpit damage automatically destroys any type of bomber, or 1 engine damage. So if this were a Stuka, he'd already be destroyed with that 1 engine damage on him. Dorniers, which are a lot more durable. 4, in fact, the rest, all the heavy bombers are either 4 heavy damage or 4 of any damage, 1 cockpit, or either 2 engine for the Junkers and the Heinkels, or 3 engine damage for the Dornier. So that's our goal, is to get 2 more damage markers on this, which will be a total of 4. Or if we got a second engine damage, since this is a Junker, that would also destroy it. All right, see if we can get rid of some of that glare there. Looks like we need something else in the shot. There we go, that helps. All right, actually let's put this in there because this is what we're going to be using, our medium bomber deck. All right, so let's look at the sequence of the bomber cycle. As I mentioned, we've already performed the approach step as part of the setup. So we are now on the burst step. So for the burst step, what we do is draw a bomber card. And so it's kind of similar to the way the dogfight cards work, where you choose the appropriate row and the appropriate column and then use the result at the intersection of those two. In this case, the rows are based on how tight the bomber that you're attacking is in the formation. So in this case, it's a lone bomber, so we're going to use this bottom row. We'll get to what these two mean in the next scenario. Well, we'll get to this one in the next scenario, and then we'll get to this one in the scenario after that. So for the time being, all we need to concern ourselves with is this bottom row, and then this is which angle we're attacking from. So if we were attacking from the nose, we'd get this result. Starboard or port, which is what we're doing, we'll have that result. If we were attacking from the tail, we'd have that result. All right, so let's see what these mean. This one looks familiar from our dogfight scenarios. That's a low ammo result, so we'll go ahead and do that one because we know that what that means. So they go no ammo, or low ammo, sorry. If they get another low ammo result, then they'll go no ammo. Okay, this one here, let's look up what that means. here we go. It is the dorsal gunner result. So the bomber suffers fuselage damage with a special effect. So it's treated as a normal fuselage damage in most respects. But then also, the additional effect is that it cancels hits for RAF fighters in the tail approach. So basically you've knocked out their gunner that's able to shoot behind the bomber. And so any future fighters that approach this bomber from the tail will not be subject to return fire. Any return fire that results in a hit, I should say. All right, so, and it just mentions here that just like, and the same applies to the regular damage results. If your fighter is no ammo, then they don't actually cause the damage. And if their guns are jammed, they have to roll a die. And if it's even, the damage goes through. If it's odd, the damage is canceled, but then you get to remove the jammed marker. So we'll probably see that happen in one of these, at least one of these scenarios. So stay tuned for that. All right, but for this, we just need to find a dorsal, here they are, a dorsal gunner damage result. So that bomber now has 3 hits, 1 more, and it's going down. So that is the, let's make sure we didn't have any other results to apply. No, it was just those 2, low ammo and the dorsal gunner damage. All right, so that concludes the burst step. And then we disengage, so they're no longer engaged with that bomber. We do a hit check, so if we had received a hit from return fire, we would have to roll, and they work just the same as the dogfight hits. They're the same markers. We'll get to see how they work. But if you get a hit, then you just have to roll equal to or higher than that during the hit check. Same thing, if it's severe, which means you didn't roll equal to or higher, then you get sent to the appropriate fate box. Otherwise, it's a trivial hit. Okay, so then we resume. And in this case, for this scenario, normally you would go back to whatever step in the normal sequence of play brought you here. But for this training scenario, we're just automatically going back to do another bomber cycle. So we can now approach again. One thing to note about the approach is, other than the first round, if I decide I want to approach from the tail or from the nose, then I have to put one of these delay markers on myself. Let me find one of those. Okay, like so. And what that means in this upcoming bomber cycle, they won't actually get to perform the burst step. They'll have to wait until the next bomber cycle to do that. And in a normal, again, in a full scenario where you might get escorts coming down on you, they may end up shaking you off, so you aren't able to actually engage the bomber then. So there's some potential benefits for going after the nose or the tail, but again, you're taking a risk with that delay of being knocked off your target by escorts. So I think in this case, we will just attack from the flank again, just for fun. We'll come in from the starboard side this time. And so then we go to the burst step. So we draw another card. And again, we're going up against a lone bomber from the starboard side this time, and another dorsal gunner damage result. And that is all. No return fire or anything. So that will destroy the bomber because it has 4 damage on it now. And that will end the scenario. So outcomes on this one are pretty straightforward. Victory if you destroyed the bomber. Tough bird if you didn't destroy the bomber, but you didn't end up in a fate box. Trying to figure out how that would happen. I guess if you ran out of ammo before you destroyed it. And then missing in action, green leader is in a fate box. All right, so pretty straightforward there. Again, just starting to learn the basics of the bomber cycle. So let's move on to scenario 7, where things get a little more interesting. Scenario 7 is called Finishing the Job. 30 September 1940, 504th Squadron catches up to an outbound raid south of Portland and immediately makes a tail approach to engage the rear sections, or Ketten, of the HE-111 formation. So these are going to be Heinkels. In the first few passes, red section damages one Ketta sufficiently that it slows and loses altitude, becoming isolated from the rest of the formation. Take control of red section and finish off these isolated bombers. All right, so for this, we're going to be placing red leader. And are we Hurricane or Spitfire here? It does not say. But the picture, see, the Hurricane has more flat edge on the leading edge of the wing. This looks like the Spitfire icon, so we're going to go with the Spitfire for this one. So we need red leader Spitfire version. And then we also need a Heinkel bomber tile. Voila. And oh, we also got red 2 and red 3, so we got the whole section with us. Nice. They can start anywhere nearby in the bomber formation area. They may approach from any angle, but remember to attach a delay marker for a nose or tail approach. The curtain rises on this training scenario at the start of round 2. So they're assuming that we've already gone through the first round of the bomber cycle, so now we're on the second round of the bomber cycle. And again, we just continue the bomber cycle one round after the other until the bombers are either destroyed or your fighters are in fate boxes, no longer have ammo, or are lost contact. In this scenario, once lost contact, an RAF, should be an RAF fighter, returns to base. Okay, so let's get that set up. Oh, and again, during setup, we start with 2 damage results on the bombers, and again, I'm assuming that we ignore the catastrophic effect since that would have already been resolved during round 1. Okay, let's get that set up then. So we have red leader on the tail. Okay, and you may be saying, well, why does he get to attack the tail and not have a delay marker? So if, and the assumption here is that he was on the tail during the first round of the bomber cycle, and in that case, you, instead of disengaging, if you're attacking from the tail, you're allowed to stay on the tail if you wish. and that would not impose the delay. Because thematically what's going on is, let's say you first round you approached from a flank and you flew through the formation, and now you want to approach from the tail. Well, you've got to get your plane turned around, come up behind them. In the meantime, they're continuing to fly on, so it's going to take you longer to reposition yourself to be up behind them. Plus on the tail, you got to worry about the tail gunner trying to avoid his fire, so they implement that through the delay marker. And of course, if you want to approach from the nose, then it's really going to take you a while, because you got to get around in front of them so that you can come back toward them. So that's the reasoning there behind those delay markers. But if you're on the tail already and you just want to stay there, then there's no delay. So that's what Red Leader did. He just decided to stay on the tail from the first round. I think what we're going to do, just for fun and illustrative purposes, we are going to have Red 3 approach from the nose. So he's going to have a delay marker. And then let's have, let's see, these two are the ones that are already damaged. Let's go ahead and get those on there. Need to get these other damage markers back into the cup. So the lead one is going to have a wing damage, and remember we're using Spitfires this time, so we'll use the Spitfire side. And then the other one is going to have fuselage damage. So 1 damage on each of those. I think what we'll do is we'll have him help out. You know what? He's not going to be attacking till next round anyway. We'll have him help Red Leader with this one, but from the starboard side. All right. And again, these are Heinkel's are medium bombers, so we'll use the medium bomber deck. There is a separate deck that you use for these Stukas, which is a light bomber deck. I don't know where it's gotten to, but it says light on the bottom instead of medium. And we'll just go ahead and shuffle this. So we're starting a new scenario. And again, so basically this was doing the approach step, deciding where we wanted those two to go. So now we're on to the burst step. So we choose one at a time. Oh, and one thing to mention too is, even though these are all part of Red section, all fighters on the bomber formation area, when they're actually attacking the bombers, are considered to be independent fighters. There's too much chaos and stuff for any sort of coordination to act as a section, so they're all treated as individual fighters while in the bomber formation area. All right, so why don't we start with our Red Leader? Oh, you know what? Actually, let's start with the guy coming in from the flank, because if he manages to get a dorsal gunner result, then Red Leader won't be subject to hits from return fire. So we'll have Red 2 go first. So we reveal a card. This time, so remember last scenario we were doing this lone bomber row. Now it's a Keta. So whenever you're attacking a tile, you're either going to be on this one or this one. This one is if it's what's called an isolated tile, which for this scenario, it's just the one tile, so it is considered isolated. If there were other tiles still in the formation touching it, then we would use this top row, and we'll get to see that in the next scenario. One other thing to mention is if you have an isolated bomber tile and 2 of the 3 bombers are either destroyed or have fallen out of the formation, it's considered to be a lone bomber. In fact, what I usually do is just pull the tile out then and just replace it with an individual bomber tile. All right, let's go ahead and get this resolved. So first up, we have, this is a damage result. Let's see what, we haven't seen that one yet on the bomber cards, so let's look that one up. We have seen the damage result on dogfight cards, I believe, where basically it just kills the fighter. For a bomber, though, you draw a damage marker and apply it to the bomber, and it just means you put it on the image on the bomber tile or the marker. And as it mentions, you use that should actually just be HUR, not HURR. Either the her side or the spit side. And if you get this symbol, it actually means you cause 2 damage, which is really awesome. And then it talks about catastrophic effects, but we'll wait and talk about that once we actually see one or draw one. We have seen one. Okay, so we're drawing a damage marker. And again, we're on the Spitfire side, so that one does not have a catastrophic effect, so that's just wing damage on that bomber. And then we have the low ammo result. And again, I'm applying these left to right, but you can choose to do them in any order. And sometimes it's more advantageous to do them in a certain order, and you'll kind of see where that might matter probably in the future. All right, so we need a low ammo for red 2. And then this next one, let's look up and see what that means. That is a distress result. And in this case, it's possible that you might be forcing that bomber out of its keta. So even falling further out of formation. In this situation, these 3 have fallen out of the main formation, but they're still in formation themselves. So they're able to cover each other somewhat. But in the case of the distress, this can possibly cause that bomber to then become a lone bomber. And we've seen how the lone bombers work in the previous scenario. All right, so what you do is you count up how many RAF fighters are engaged with bombers on that bomber tile, and add the number of damage markers on the bomber tile. Also add fallen or destroyed markers. And if that total is equal to or greater than the distress number, whatever number's inside that blue circle, then you place a fallen marker over the image of that bomber, and you place a new bomber marker off by its own, and any aircraft, any fighters that were engaged with that particular bomber would then follow and be on that bomber marker now instead. So in this case, it was a 5. So we count up the number of fighters engaged, and they're still considered engaged even though they have a delay marker on them. So 1, 2, 3, the number of markers on the tile, 4, 5, 6. So that's greater than 5. So we have managed to distress that bomber, and he now falls out of formation. And the other side of the Junkers is a Heinkel, so we'll use that. We're just going to set him off to the side over here. We cover up that image on the bomber tile with a fallen marker. This damage stays with them. And then we are now over here on this fighter. So let's slide things over a little bit here. So we get everything in the shot. So what I like to do it was easy in the previous scenario because we only had one fighter, but to keep track of who's already done their burst step, I usually just fly them to the other side so that they're now pointing away from the marker. So we know that they've gone, but it's important, especially when you're still working with them on the tiles, to know that that fighter is still, quote unquote, engaged with that tile, because even after they take their burst step, they can still affect distress, and as we'll see in the next scenario, disruption for results on that tile. Okay, let's go ahead and do red leader next then. So now it's a lone bomber, so now we're down on this one again, and he's on the tail. So here's one of those awesome double damage results. The tail is usually where you can get those. So we get 2 damage and low ammo. So let's go ahead and do the low ammo first. Put that on him, and then 2 damage. See if we can get one of these catastrophic ones so we can demonstrate that. Well, if it had been a hurricane, it would have been, but we're a Spitfire. So it's just a fuselage damage, and then an engine. Okay, now this is, again, we saw this in the previous scenario. An engine damage automatically causes the bomber to fall out of formation. In this case, it already has, but let's say that we hadn't gotten that distressed result previously and it was still part of the keta. This would cause it to automatically fall. And then he has finished his burst step, so we'll move him up to there. And then that was all we had. No return fire on that yet either. I'm sure we'll get one eventually and we can demonstrate how that works. So that ends the burst step. Again, this one has a delay marker, so he doesn't get to perform the burst step this time. So now we disengage, but delayed fighters remain engaged. So he remains engaged here. These 2 disengage. So we can have them, come after a different target and or come at a different angle for the next round. Hit checks, we don't have any to do, and so we'll do another bomber cycle. So during the approach phase, any fighters that have a delay marker on them, the delay marker is removed. So they will now get to do theirs. I think we want to have red leader try to finish this guy off. So he's going to come in from the flank on him. And then let's have, who is this, red 2, help out with this one. All right, so we are all set. That is the approach step. The burst step, let's go ahead and start over here with red leader. See if he can finish off that bomber. And we are going after a lone bomber tile, starboard. So yes, we do get another damage result. So whatever it is, the bomber is going to be destroyed because it's their 4th damage. It is a wing damage. So these will all go back into the cup and get rid of this marker, and then this fallen marker flips over to show that that bomber was destroyed. And if this were a regular campaign, we would credit whoever the pilot of red leader was with a bomber kill. We also get a low ammo result. So because he's already low ammo, he now goes no ammo. and he will return to base during the next approach step. All right, and then let's do Ed 3 hasn't gotten to get into the action yet, so let's do him next. So again, now we're back on the isolated tile row, and we are approaching from the nose. Okay, here we go. So we will get to do some return fire this time. So he does get a damage, so let's do that first. And because we got that distressed 4 result, that's also going to knock him out of the formation. So we got, okay, good. We got a catastrophic. So anytime you get one that has this like explosion symbol on it and then a number here in the upper left-hand corner, that's a potentially catastrophic result. And so what we do is we're going to roll a die. If you roll equal to or higher than this number, the bomber is destroyed. So we're wanting to get equal to or higher than an 11. And we got a 4. All right, continuing on. We'll do the return fire last. Let's go ahead and resolve this next. So distress of 4. We have 2 fighters plus 4 markers on the tile. Again, fallen and destroyed plus damage markers. So 6 is greater than 4. So we have knocked another bomber out of the keta. So we'll put a fallen marker on this one. And we'll move this isolated bomber now off to the side here. We'll just move red leader out of the way down here. And we'll reposition these guys over onto that marker. And last but not least, we need to resolve this. So this is a return fire result. Let's see what the rules have to say about that. Here it is. Draw a return fire marker and apply the result to the RAF fighter. The icon results of those markers are explained on page 62 and on the player aid. So we need to draw a return fire marker, and the return fire markers are simply the reverse side of the hit markers. So we're going to draw one and look at the back of it, and it will tell us what sort of return fire result we have. Most of them are just hits, but there are a couple other things you can possibly get. So that is a hit. So in the case of a hit, you just flip it over and place it on the fighter, and that will get resolved during the hit check step of the bomber cycle. So we'll move him past. Since he's completed his burst step, we resolved all 3 of those results. Just so you know, the other results that you can get are, the vast majority of them are hits. There's a green hit. Yeah, I'm not going to dig them all out, but a couple other examples. This is a hit, but only if your pilot is a green pilot. This would be a jammed result. Low ammo result. I believe there's also a fuel result. Oh, there's a, you can become lost contact, which basically means you're just not in the bomber formation area anymore, and you'll have to try to catch back up to them. Yeah, here's the fuel check. And then there's also like a, here it is, mechanical distress. those have various effects as denoted here. So fuel line emergency, if you get that, that one's not really going to make any sense right now because we're not using fuel yet. So we'll kind of skip over that. Jammed guns, we saw before how those work. Lost contact, we mentioned. Low ammo, we're familiar with. Mechanical failure, you have to roll a die. If you get an even result, you exit the bomber formation area and become lost contact. So it'd be the same as that result there. Or if it's odd, then you have to immediately return to base. So those are the different return fire results that you can get. That should be on him. Got knocked off. All right. So I think all we have left then is Red 2 making his attack from the starboard side. So again, we're now a lone bomber up, and his guns are jammed now, and no other effect. So we will put a jammed marker on Red 2, and he has finished his burst step. Oh, and as I mentioned earlier, now that this tile, 2 of the bombers on it are either fallen or destroyed, we can actually just replace that with a lone bomber tile as well. And we'll transfer that fuselage damage over to there. So now we've just got 2 lone bombers that we're dealing with. So we go to the disengage step. So everyone is now disengaged from their bombers. And we go to the hit check step. So now we need to check on, who was this, Red 3? Yeah, Red 3 with their engine damage. See if they can roll greater than or equal to a 9. Oh, so close. So they will go to the engine fate box. And again, for the scenarios, they say you don't have to resolve the fate boxes, but I like doing it because it's fun. So he would go back there. The hit marker goes back into the cup. And we're on to another bomber cycle. So since Red Leader is no ammo, he will automatically RTB since he can't do anything. And we're just left with Red 2, who's on low ammo and jammed. I think we're going to have to try to see if we can get lucky here. I think our best chance of taking this guy down is going to be approaching from the tail. So we're going to do that. So we're going to come in from the tail. Remember, that means he gets a delayed marker. And if we were playing with escorts, this could be rather dangerous. But since we know we don't have to deal with escorts, it's a safe choice. So he will engage from the tail. Delay marker, which means he won't perform the burst step. So we automatically go to disengage, but he remains engaged because he's delayed. No hit check. And go back for another bomber cycle. So approach step, all we do is remove his delay marker. And now he can perform burst on this bomber, approaching from the tail. So lone bomber coming in on the tail. Yeah, I was hoping for a So one of those double damage results. We may still get lucky though if we get a cockpit or a catastrophic. But then he's got another low ammo, so he's going to go no ammo. And because he's jammed, we have to roll to see if this damage actually goes through. So let's find out. Remember, it's even, the damage goes through. Odd, the damage is canceled, but you lose the jam marker. Okay, so the damage does go through. And we need a cockpit or a catastrophic. And we got an engine. So that will not do anything. They'll be able to limp away. We also have to resolve a return fire. So let's pull one of those. Hopefully it's a jam because we're already jammed and it won't matter. It is a mechanical failure. Okay, well, no harm, no foul there too. We'll roll a die. It is even. I think even was you become lost contact. If I remember correctly, yes. So we will put a lost contact marker on him. Normally what you do is you'd have another area of your table designated as your lost contact area, and you just move them off to there. But we'll just mark him lost contact that way. And so according to the scenario instructions, once you're lost contact, you return to base. So he just returns to base. And that will conclude the scenario because all fighters are either in fate boxes, no longer have ammo, or lost contact. Yeah, I guess technically our no ammo guy wouldn't have returned to base, but the scenario ends as soon as everyone's either in fate boxes, out of ammo, or lost contact. So that will conclude the scenario. I don't think we did very well. So victory would be to either make all three Heinkels either fallen or destroyed. We did manage to do that because once, like I said, once the tile only had the one bomber left on it, it's considered fallen as well. And none of your RAF fighters are in fate boxes. We didn't manage that. Tough battle. All three Heinkels are either fallen or destroyed, but at least one of your RAF fighters is in a fate box. So that was our result. All right, but now we need to see what happened to clear all this out. We need to see what happened to Red 3. So he went down with an engine hit. So he is in a Spitfire. So we need to roll a 10 through 12 in order to make it back to the hangar. Otherwise, we're going to crash, excuse me, or catch on fire. Ooh, we got a 12. Nice. So he makes it safely back. All right, and that concludes scenario number 7. And next up will be scenario number 8. All right, scenario 8 is a full basket. 15 September 1940, an afternoon raid by 27 HE-111s slips through to bomb Portland. As they exit, B flight of 152nd Hyderabad Squadron intercepts what they had been told was a formation of 6+. Instead, your B flight Spitfires are pitted against 18 of those Heinkels that are racing for home. So for this one, we're actually going to have 6 bomber tiles in formation. We'll set it up in the pattern shown there. We're using all 6 Spitfires of red and green sections entering from the rear tail position. So we place them so that each is directly behind a bomber. More than one can line up behind the same one. And attack that bomber one at a time and one bomber card at a time. What's this saying? B flight enters from high altitude and attacks from the tail on round 1. So you must apply the tail penalty. So if a fighter gets a hit result from a return fire marker, we flip it over and then we have to draw another hit marker. Excuse me. And use the higher numbered one. So the one that's harder to make trivial. And that only applies to the first round. So what that's referring to is there are tail penalties in the first round. Well, there's actually nose and tail penalties. So if you come in nose low on the first round, you have to ignore disruption results. If you come in tail, high or low, usually, doesn't matter if you're high or low, then you have to do the drawing 2 hit markers and taking the higher. It says highest, but it should be higher number since we're only comparing 2 things. Put the other one back in the cup. The exception to that is the Stukas, which are the light bombers. That penalty only applies when approaching from tail high because the Stukas did not have ventral guns. So they only had the dorsal gunner on top of the aircraft, no ventral gunner below. So if you approach from tail low, you weren't, the dorsal gunner couldn't get a bead on you. So those are the round 1 penalties that exist. All right, and then just like the others, we don't have to worry about escorts yet, but don't worry, they're coming. We just do bomber cycle after bomber cycle until all of our fighters are in fate box, no longer have ammo, or are lost contact. Or I suppose if we manage to shoot down every single bomber, that would end the scenario as well, but I don't think that's going to happen. All right, so, and our goal, it looks like, is to destroy or make fallen 6 or more bombers with 3 or fewer Spitfires in the fate boxes. So we are going to want to try to do that. So let's get this set up. See that picture again? Okay, yeah. So we got, I have to tip the camera up a little bit to get everything in the shot here. Get that out of the way. So this is our formation that we're going after. And we will once again need the medium bomber cards. And we don't get any extra hits this time, no freebies. We got to make them all. All right, so one of the keys in this scenario is going to be what's referred to as disrupting the formation. So we're just going to draw one of these as an example here. So you probably noticed when we were flipping these cards before, on the top row, which is the one we'll be using at least initially, because this represents keton that are still in formation, still adjacent to at least one other. So there's this disruption result. And let's go ahead and look at this ahead of time so you understand what we're going to be trying to do. So for disruption, it's similar to distress in that you count all of the RAF fighters, damage markers, fallen and destroyed markers. But this time you get to add any of them that are on contiguous tiles. The bomber tile that you're attacking and any contiguous tiles. So initially, that's going to be everything. So all markers and fighters on all tiles will count toward this until they start getting separated. And if it's equal to or greater than the disruption number, then you isolate the tile. And so just as an example, this one would be 9 or more causes an isolate or a disruption result. So let's say, for example, we got that while we were attacking this tile. So that would isolate this tile from the rest of them. So it would go like that. And now any future attacks on that tile would be using the isolated tile row instead of the I forget what they call this, but the supported tile row or non-isolated tile row. We'll go with that. But another trick is, let's say instead we were going after this tile, and let's say we get a disruption tile on that. Well, that's going to isolate this tile, which means it's no longer adjacent to any of the ones touching it. And you'll see that that also then isolates these tiles at the same time. So by going after these sort of like connecting ketas, and by isolating them, you can then isolate multiple tiles at once. So that's what you want to look for when you're deciding which bombers to attack. So let's go ahead and slip this back in there. So we've got our red and green sections available to us for this. Remember, we're coming in tail on the tail, and I think what we're going to want to do is see if we can isolate this one and then see if we can isolate that one. And if we're able to do that, we've basically split everything to where it's isolated like that. I guess the other option is, and it would kind of depend, like if we're playing the actual campaign, if isolating tiles is going to grant you victory points based on the current situation, and we'll see what those situations are in future episodes. But basically, that would be a good strategy if isolating them gives you victory points, because you want to get them, isolated as much as possible. For this scenario, though, we're actually just looking to get bombers that are fallen or destroyed. So it might make more sense to just kind of isolate on or focus on these 3 bottom tiles and not worry about the ones up there. Since we've got plenty here to achieve what we're trying to do. So maybe we'll just kind of focus primarily on this tile to make sure we can get it isolated, and then in future rounds, then we can try to pick off other ones as we see fit. So I think what we'll do, we've got 6 fighters available, right? Why don't we just go ahead and go 2 on each on this center tile. So we'll send them like this. that's going to be our approach step. We've decided where they're going. Now we can start resolving the burst step. So let's go ahead and start with green 2, going on this one. So this time we are on this top row. We're attacking on the tail. Wow, look at that. Only needed 3 to get the disruption result. So we definitely got that because we have 6 on there. So this is a hit, but only if the pilot is a green pilot. And since we're not using pilot skill for these scenarios, we can ignore that. Green 2 does become low ammo, but then we do successfully isolate this tile, which, as we mentioned earlier, also isolates the 2 on the bottom. Let's just push these 2 up out of the way because we're not really going to deal with them at all, I don't think, for the rest of the scenario. We'll just focus on these 3 bottom ones. All right, so that's his burst step. We've resolved all of those. We'll go ahead and do green leader next. And now, since that tile has been isolated, he gets to use this row. Again, coming from the tail, green hit, which we can ignore, and then a damage result and low ammo. Let's give him his low ammo marker. And we'll draw a damage token. Cockpit would be sweet. And these are Spitfires, so we use this side. It's a wing. We have a chance of it causing him to fall out of formation. That's what that down arrow means. You remember on the engine hits, they've got that down arrow with no number. That just means it automatically causes them to fall. In this case, we'll have to roll a 12 in order for them to fall. And we do not. I think that was it, right? Boom, boom, boom. Yep. So they are finished as well. We'll do green 3 next on the middle bomber there. If we can get some of these guys to drop out. So Ketan, isolated tile, coming in from the tail, damage, low ammo, and return fire. Okay. So we'll go ahead and do the low ammo so we don't forget. Need some more of these. Okay, low ammo and a damage. A fuselage. And then return fire. And then remember, because we're coming in from the tail in the first round, that if that return fire results in a hit, then we have to draw a second one and take the higher of the 2. Let's hope we don't get a hit. Whoops, and I'm drawing from the wrong bowl. All right, well, we got a lost contact, so not a hit, but unfortunately, he's going to be done for this scenario. We'll just set him off to the side. No, it wasn't him. It was this one. All right, so that completely resolves that card. Next, red 2 coming in on the tail. Ooh, 2 damage, low ammo, and return fire. All right, so low ammo. 2 damage. Got a wing hit. And another wing damage, I should say. Damage is what goes on the bombers. Hits is what goes on us. All right. And then he takes return fire. And he's jammed. So that goes back in the cup, and he just gets a jammed marker. So we haven't actually had to impose the tail penalty yet. Next, red leader. We'll go after the 3rd bomber in this keta. Ooh, I like that. 2 damage, low ammo, no return fire. He's got a fuselage. And an engine, there we go. So that drops him out of formation. So let's get a fallen marker for him. We'll put a stray bomber over here. These will go onto that. This one has fallen out of formation. We're still resolving red leader's results. Because he also goes low ammo. But now, red 3 will get a tail attack on a lone bomber. So we'll use the bottom row. Actually, it would have been better if it hadn't been fallen out of formation in this case. So we get a low ammo. Let's go ahead and do that. Return fire and a damage. So let's do the damage. And it's another engine damage. Oh, and I think 2 engine damage. Where's our chart again? These are Heinkel's. 2 engine damage destroys it. So there we go, our first destroyed bomber. This flips over to destroyed. And again, if we were playing the campaign, whoever was piloting red 3 would get credited with that kill. But we still do have to resolve the return fire on him. And it is a low ammo. So now he's out of ammo. Goes back into there. And let's actually go back to, I guess, we'll put a lost contact marker on green 3 off camera there. All right, looks like that's everyone. So that wasn't too bad for our first round there, I think. So now we will go for round 2. We don't have any hit checks to resolve. We all disengage and then go into round 2 for the approach step. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and push these guys up off camera because we're not gonna deal with them at all. Now, and I'm pretty sure, so if we manage to either get this one to get destroyed or fall out, then this one would also automatically be fallen. So that would count as 3 right there. So I think what we'll do, now we've got, who is this again? Red 3 is no ammo. But I'm tempted to still send him because he can still help toward trying to get distress results. So I don't think we're going to deal with this tile either. So we'll just focus on these 2, I think. And what we're going to do is send, well, everyone's low ammo or no ammo, and he's jammed. We're going to send this guy over here to try to finish them off. And then I think we'll send, we're not going to come in on the tail, that would cause delay. Let's do, although technically delay isn't going to hurt us because again there's no escorts. But we'll go ahead and try some flank attacks here, I think. So let's do these 2 and this one here. And we'll send this guy at that one from this side. Let's do that. All right. Like I said, hopefully if we either distress or get a damage result here, that will give us 3 that are either fallen or destroyed. And then we just need to get 3 more. All right, so let's go ahead and do green 2's burst. So we're still here, and we're coming in from starboard or port now. Okay, well, either way would have done it. So we got the damage, and we also got 5 for the distress, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items that would count toward that. He does go no ammo now, and gets a damage. So it doesn't really matter what it is, but we'll see thematically what it would have caused. And it's an engine damage. So that's 4 damage on that one, which destroys it. And then, like I said, that causes this one then to become fallen. All right, and then let's go ahead and do this one next. So here we are again on an isolated Keta, starboard or port. So we get a dorsal gunner result. So we'll apply that first. And unfortunately, we're going to be 1 short of distressing that bomber. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fighters and or damage fallen or destroyed markers. He does go low ammo, so that puts him at no ammo. And that's it. So his burst is complete. This one, we still have to draw a card for him, even though he's no ammo and won't be able to cause damage. Could still cause a distress, though. Looks like we will. So another 6. 1, 2, 3. Oh no, it's still just 5. Man. no ammo doesn't matter, or low ammo doesn't matter because he's already no ammo. And then he takes return fire. So no penalty this time because number one, we're not coming in from the tail and it's not the first round. Just whatever he gets is what he gets. Mechanical failure. And so we roll a die. It is odd. And for mechanical failure, odd means, here it is. He goes on the RTB track. So he has returned to base. Okay, next up we have our red 2 with jammed guns. Let's see what he can do. Again, we need 6, and now we only have 4. He does get a damage, so that would make it 5. Man, yeah, if that previous one didn't have the mechanical failure, we would have gotten the distress result. So we get a damage, possibly. He's jammed, so we got to see. If he rolls, I think it's even, then the damage goes through. Yes. Even, it does the damage. Odd, it doesn't do the damage, but then you remove the jams. So we do get a damage on him. Could really use an engine or cockpit result here. Engine, perfect. So that will cause that one to fall. And then he's, wait, that wasn't the card. This was the card. He also goes low ammo, which means he's now out of ammo. I guess the jammed doesn't matter anymore. And that's it. We'll put him on the other side of this. And now this one's attacking there. And we're lone bomber now, starboard, dorsal, return fire, and low ammo. So he's now out of ammo. Gets a dorsal gunner hit and return fire. And this time it actually is a hit. Fuselage 7. All right, so that completes the burst step. Then we disengage. So no one's engaged with anyone anymore. And unfortunately, I think everyone's out of ammo. But we do still have a chance, I think. So let's do our hit check. So we have to roll 7 or greater for that to be a trivial hit. And we got a 3, so he's going to the fuselage fate box. Here's the fuselage fate box. There it is. Okay, these markers can go back to their respective areas. And now we go through another bomber cycle. So what I'm thinking is, even though these guys are all out of ammo, we can still make a run at this tile and hopefully get a, what do we need, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 result for a distress. And we'd be able to knock that one out, which would then make this one fallen as well, and we'd have our 6 fallen or destroyed that we were trying to get. So we'll do that. So they don't know we're out of ammo, right? So they might get scared and fall out of formation. So let's see what happens. So first is red leader, which we're also risking more going into the fate box. And we're going after a tile from starboard. So, and look at that. We got a 3 on the distress number. So that one does fall out, which makes all of these. We'll just set these 2 here to remind us that we have 2 destroyed. And then these are all, both of these become individual bombers then. This one has the dorsal hit on it. And this can go away. And so we're all lined up going after this guy now. So that was perfect. The no ammo or the low ammo result is ignored because we're already no ammo. We do have to suffer return fire. And we got, oh, perfect. So we got the fuel result, which remind myself about that. I think since we're not using the fuel tracking at all, we can probably just ignore that. Fuel line emergency says note the fighter's fuel cube on the fuel track, which there isn't one. If it's low, empty, or vapor, it bails out. If not, the fighter returns to base. So we'll just assume that he returned to base. And then next up is red 2. We're now lone bomber. So damage result doesn't matter, or is ignored because he's no ammo, and then that one's ignored because he's no ammo. So no effect there. And last but not least, green 2, who's pointing the wrong direction. Perfect. Same thing, damage, no ammo, they just get ignored. And that will do it. Unless, you know what, I might have overlooked something. Yep, I actually wasn't allowed to do that. I kind of cheated. Because the scenario ends when all of your fighters are either in fate boxes, no longer have ammo, or are lost contact. So, rewind. We actually had this situation at the end of the scenario because they were all out of ammo and it just ended. So we ended up with only 4 fighters that were either fallen or destroyed, and 1 fighter, or bombers, I mean, and 4, let me get this right, 4 bombers that were either fallen or destroyed, and 1 fighter in the fate box. So it was a disappointing result. We had to destroy or make fallen 6 or more in order to have either victory or a tough day. So I think maybe the mistake was, I don't know, what was the mistake? Maybe we needed to spread out more across more targets in the second round to try to get more fallen results. I don't know. But anyway, that was scenario 8, a full basket. And that will lead us into the final bomber scenario, which is scenario 9. Clean all this up first. Get all these markers back where they belong. We aren't using Heinkels for this one. We're using Junkers, which are on the back side of the Heinkels. Keep them handy. And this is Tally Ho. 7 September 1940. Big raids are targeting the Port of London for the first time, and in the second wave, 21 inbound Ju-88s are intercepted over Folkestone by Squadron Leader Caesar Barrand Hull's 43rd Fighting Cock Squadron. The Hurricanes are massively outnumbered by escorting Me-109s. There we go. We're going to have some escorts to deal with this time. All right, so place all 12 fighters, Hurricanes, in the bomber formation area. So we get our full squadron for this. 7 Junkers bomber tiles as shown. So they're going to be in a flying V there. The curtain rises at the start of round 1 and your squadron approaches from the flank. You can expect 109s to enter the bomber formation area at the end of round 2. So we've got 2 rounds of free reign on these bombers, and then we're going to have to deal with some escorts. So when we get to that point, we'll roll and every round after that, we'll roll a die and see how many of those our Luftwaffe advantage cards we have to draw to do some dogfighting, and they'll get applied to a random RAF fighter, but those with delayed markers will have priority. And I wrote this little note in here because they don't really explain, because you haven't gotten far enough in the rules to this point to know what happens when escorts intercept or escort reaction causes the escorts to attack something with a delayed marker. But basically the delayed marker would get removed and they would no longer be engaged. So they would have to then re-engage at the next approach step. And if the dogfight lasted more than 1 round, they would actually become lost contact. So it doesn't really tell you what to do about that. But so basically the scenario will end until all fighters are in fate boxes or have returned to base. At the start of a bomber round, you can have them return to base instead of approaching, but it cannot already be engaged. So basically once they go low ammo, you might as well send them back. What it doesn't mention here as well is that lost contact fighters should RTB, which could have happened as a result of a dogfight. because there's no provision in this scenario, because we haven't gotten that far in the rules yet, for how the chase mechanic works, which allows lost contact fighters to try to catch back up with the bomber formation. So I just added those little notes there. I'm actually going to suggest some errata for that to explain that a little better in this scenario. All right, let's go ahead and get it set up. And we'll go ahead and do it in the orientation they suggested, like this. See if we can't get everything in the camera here. So, oh, these are actually all like that. So yeah, this front part is really hard to break up. Oh, that's a Dornier on the back of that Heinkel. Here's another Junkers. And the final one. All right, that should work for the time being, at least until we start isolating stuff. Get this out of the shot. Oh, I almost forgot. We forgot to see what happened to Green Leader with his fuselage damage. So he was in a Spitfire. So he's going to need to roll 8 or higher to make it back to the hangar. And he does, 11. Awesome. Okay. Now we need all of our Hurricane blocks. We're still using the medium bomber deck, because the only ones that are light are the Stukas. And so give me a second and I'll get all these out. All right, here we go. And again, the goal for this one is we get a victory point for each bomber tile that we isolate and a victory point for each bomber destroyed. And if we have more victory points than we lost in RAF fighters, they're considering any fighter in a fate box to be considered lost. Then that would be a victory. However, if we don't get at least 5 victory points, then our victory gets downgraded to a poor show. And if we lose 6 or more fighters, it's either a defeat or a Pyrrhic victory. All right, so let's see. We're going to want to obviously try to isolate stuff here. So I think what would be the best way? See, with these being all tight in here like this, it makes it more difficult, doesn't it? But if we go after these 2 at least, that would isolate these 4. And that would be 4 victory points, which is a good start. We don't get anything for fallen bombers this time, just destroyed bombers. So we're going to need to try to finish them off as well as isolate. Yeah, I think for the first round, why don't we just focus on getting these 4 isolated, and then we can go from there. So at least the first one should be pretty easy, because all of these are contiguous, so all 12 of these fighters are going to count toward disruption. I'm thinking maybe we send a couple here and a couple here. And so we'll try to do these first while all the other stuff is still counting toward it, which will get these two isolated, and then we'll still have 8 left for whatever we're trying to isolate over here. So I'm thinking maybe we go like this and like this. Maybe throw some on here as well. Yeah, why don't we do that? That looks good. I mean, technically they would all be coming from one direction, so I guess we should probably do it like this to be a little more accurate, because you can't, I guess, unless, yeah, I don't think there's a way to, even if you split your squadron into flights, I think they still all approach from the same direction. All right, so we'll do that. And like I said, we'll start down here so we can try to get this broken off while we have everything contiguous, and then we'll still have all of this to help break this up here. All right, so we're going to start down here with red 3. Let me reshuffle the bomber deck. Okay, set that right there. Red 3. Going against supported Ketas. Starboard report. Definitely got our disruption result because we have 12 and it only needs 7. Green hit, or hit on a green pilot, but again, we're not using the pilot skill, so that can be ignored. And we get a damage and low ammo. So let's do low ammo, damage, cockpit would be nice here. We're hurricanes now, so we use the backside. A wing, and he'll fall out of formation on an 11. Let's roll for that. 11 or higher. Nope, 9. But we do disrupt the formation. So this tile becomes isolated from the others, which then also isolates this tile. So it's going to be like that. So there's 2 victory points already. Here to show he's already bursted. Next will be red 2. Now on an isolated tile, starboard report. Again, ignore the hit on a green pilot, and we only need 3 to distress him. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that becomes distressed, which means he falls out. Need to get our Junkers lone bombers, which they're right there. Guess we're flying this way, aren't we? So he falls out of formation. Comes a lone bomber. And that is all. Those guys are done. Next, we have red leader. Again, going after an isolated tile now from the flank. Unfortunately, this one needs 6 to isolate. It's only going to be 4 once we put the damage on. So we do get a damage and a low ammo. And the damage is a wing. Low ammo for red leader. No distress. Okay, then yellow 3 comes along right behind him and gets dorsal gunner hit. And also goes low ammo. And looks like we are just short of being able to distress that bomber. We needed the 6. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that will complete his burst run. All right, next we want to try to get these 2 isolated. So we'll do these next so that these will all still count. If we did this one next, we'd have a higher chance of isolating this one, but that's only going to isolate that one tile, and then this one will be much more difficult with only 4 on it. So we'll try this one first. Green 3. And we're back in this row again on starboard or port. We did get the, what's it called again? Not distress, the other one. Disruption. Yes, I did pause to go look it up. So we got the disruption, so we'll go ahead and do that first. So these both get isolated. That's 2 more victory points. We got a dorsal gunner hit. And return fire. It is a hit. Engine 9. So we'll resolve that in the hit check step in a bit. All right, green leader. Let's see if we can get this guy to fall out of formation. Make it a little bit easier to. Looks like we're going to at the cost of jammed guns. Whoops. And return fire. So let's go ahead and do the return fire. And then we'll distress that bomber. It's another actual hit. This is a wing 6. That's not too bad. And then we need another, Junkers. We'll put him there. These guys have both already attacked him. And this damage goes on to there, and this is marked fallen. All right, and then yellow leader. Isolated tile, starboard or port. Needs 6 to distress. We've only got 3. 4 counting the damage that he's going to get, but still not enough. So they go low ammo, but do get a hit or a damage. And the hurricane side, oh, there we go. It's an engine, so he does fall out anyway. So, and that makes this one fallen as well. So we'll just get 2 more individual bomber tiles. This one will have an engine damage. And this tile goes completely away. And there was no return fire on that, so that resolves that one. Where did I put the other? Is that this one? Yeah. Just set him up there. Is that right? Because this is the one, or no, we need another one still, don't we? No, this was the one from here. Yeah, so that's right. This was the other one that we knocked out of that keta, and that's the one that was left. Okay. And then blue 3 is coming up on this guy, who's now a lone bomber. Damage and low ammo. So low ammo and another damage. Come on, either another engine or a cockpit. We'll take this one down. It's a fuselage. We have a chance for a catastrophic hit or catastrophic damage. We need a 10 or higher. There it is. That bomber is destroyed. Blue 3 would have gotten credit for that. And I'm just going to put one of these out to denote that we have a destroyed bomber so we don't forget. And that's our 5th victory point. So we have what we need for a victory. Let's see if we can rack up some more. Yeah, we could just end this at the end of the first round and not have to worry about the escorts, huh? But that's not a very good way to learn, though. We wanna see how it all fits together. All right, so let's go yellow 2 next. Then we're back on the top and coming in starboard. Yeah, see, now we needed 11 for that. If we were coming in on the nose, we would have had enough. So no disruption, but we get damage, low ammo, and return fire. So low ammo, a damage, cockpit. Backside for the Hurricane. Okay, another potentially catastrophic damage. Need an 11 or higher. We did it last time. Can we do it again? Nope, 6. And return fire is a hit, so it's a 7 on the elevator. Okay, green 2 comes in behind him. Fully supported keta. Starboard or port. We don't have any green pilots, so we ignore that. 9 for the disruption. We only have 5. Well, 6 counting this. So another damage and low ammo. If you hadn't noticed, there are a lot of low ammo results. All right, cockpit. Let's get this guy destroyed here. Nope, fuselage, but again, a chance at a catastrophic. Nope, 5. All right, no return fire on him, so he squeaks by without anything. And then we've got blue leader. Still on the top row, starboard. Ooh, do we have this? Yes, we will. Nice. So a damage result. I guess it depends. If this takes it out or destroys it, it might not. All right, so we got a wing damage. But I think that's going to be enough now. Well, let's not forget his low ammo result as well. But yeah, we've got, we need 6. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 now, actually. So that will isolate this. These two are still attached, so it's just a single that gets isolated this time. But that is one more victory point. And that's it. So he is done. Then we have blue 2. Now going against an isolated Keta from the starboard. Ooh, I think this is going to drop him out too. So we get our dorsal hit, low ammo, and 7 for the distress. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes. So that one drops out. Running out of room here. We'll set him here, I guess, and they've both finished their attack on that bomber, which has a wing and a dorsal hit. And that should be everyone. And that was just the first round. That was very good, I think. So now we have to do our hit checks. Well, first everyone disengages, so no one is engaged anymore. Slide these, whoops, over here. We'll decide what we want to go after next time. Put these guys back down here. These guys are no longer engaged. We'll just put all the loose bombers up there together. All right, so let's do our hit checks. We have yellow 2 as an elevator 7. So I need to roll equal to or higher than 7. 5, no. So they go to the elevator fate box. Next we have green leader with a wing 6. Oh no, sure that would be trivial. Wing fate box for green leader. And oh, this guy's not even low ammo, green 3. I hope he can recover from this. He can do a lot more shooting. Needs a 9 or higher. Oh, wow, that was terrible. So he goes to the engine fate box. All right, well, like I said, we could just send everybody back to base and say that's a win, but I think that would kind of defeat the purpose of the scenario. So let's go ahead and do round 2. I mean, if this was an actual mission, I would definitely want to try to get these 2 isolated as well for another victory point, and then try to get some of these damaged bombers down. Deal with the escorts, and then probably go home. All right, so I think what we want to do is try to isolate these 2, so we can have everything isolated, because that's going to be a total of 7 victory points then for isolated tiles. We already have 1 destroyed. We should send some guys after this one, because he's got 2 hits already. This one's got 2 hits, so we should send some after that. Everyone's low ammo except for red 2. I think we'll ignore these for now. Let's send green 2 and red leader after this bomber. Again, we're going to just go on the flank so that we don't have to delay, because then we'll just get jumped by escorts and have to re-engage the next round anyway. We should probably, because we won't know who... Well, these will get to attack this turn, so never mind. Let's send these 2 after that bomber. That leaves 5 to try to isolate these. That should probably be enough, right? So let's go 3 of the low ammo guys on that front one, and these 2 on this port bomber. Oh wait, we still got this one that's got 2 damage too. That's all right. I think getting these isolated will be more beneficial. All right, so let's start with green 2. Lone bomber, starboard. Another dorsal gunner hit. Getting low on those dorsal gunner markers. Nope, down here. Return fire and low ammo. So he's no ammo now. And he gets return fire. Which is a hit. And it's elevator 7. Then red leader will try to finish them off. And they do, with yet another dorsal gunner hit. That dorsal gunner was having a rough time of it there. And they go no ammo. No return fire, thankfully. So that bomber is destroyed. We'll put another destroyed marker out just to indicate that. Actually, I think that was this guy, wasn't it? We'll say it was. Then Well, they're both done. Let's go after this other one up here. Blue leader. This is an isolated tile now. Damage, return fire, and he falls out with 5. So he will distress, which will hopefully make it a little bit easier for blue 2. So we get a damage, a low ammo, and a distress. So he's out of ammo. Damage. On the hurricane side is engine, so he would have fallen out anyway. So fallen, which makes that also an isolated bomber. So we need 2 more now. Oops, these all go on that guy. I'll just throw him over there. This Keta is gone. And we still have blue 2 coming in to hopefully finish them off. Okay. So blue 2's card is now Lone Bomber. And yes, indeed, they do get the 4th hit, and they run out of ammo. Let's see what it was just for fun. Another engine, so either way, 2 engines, 4th hit, he's gone. So we'll put another destroyed marker out here to indicate that. All right, now let's see if we can isolate over here. Red 3. Supported Keta, starboard report. No green. Pilots, ignore that. Damage, low ammo. So he's out. A damage. I don't think we're going to have 10. Looks like we're going to have 6. Oh, engine. He falls out. So actually, we won't even have 6. We'll only have 2. Because this becomes, well, 3, I guess. Fallen. Let's slide this up like that. They're going after that one. And put another Lone Bomber here. With the engine damage on it. Well, that kind of backfired actually. Now it's going to be really difficult to isolate that tile. So yellow leader against the Lone Bomber now. Dorsal gunner hit and low ammo, which makes him no ammo. And that bomber now has 2 hits. So we need another engine or a cockpit here to take that guy out. Let's see if blue 3 can finish him off. Lone Bomber, just the damage. So it depends on what we draw. Need an engine or a cockpit. And we got a wing. Oh, well, maybe still. Well, there's still that possibility too. Catastrophic damage. Need a 9 or higher. No. He did not go low ammo though, so he's still got ammo. That leaves red 2. This one's still attached, so we go here. Ooh, so close. A damage. Just gonna put 4 markers on the tile, and we needed 5 or 4 items, I guess. We need 5. You got a fuselage with possible catastrophic results. Let's see if they manage to destroy that in one shot. Need a 10 or higher. No. And then they take return fire. No disruption. We only have 4. Return fire on red 2 is low ammo. Okay, that'll work. He was full, so. And he's finished with his run. Yellow 3. Still supported. Wow, 14, not making that. Damage on a green pilot, or hit on a green pilot. No green pilots, so that effect, that card does absolutely nothing. We do still have 3. Yeah, 3 fighters with ammo. But that's going to conclude the burst step. Then we disengage. Let's bring everybody down here. Oh, yeah, disengage first. Then we got to do green 2's hit check. Looking for a 7 or higher. Oh, wow. Rolling low on these hit checks. So he goes to the elevator fate box, joining yellow 2 there. Right, so that's 4 now in there. But as long as we have more VP than we lost, we're okay. So I think we're still fine. Then, all right, so that puts us at the end of round 2. We have isolated 5 Ketas, so that's 5 victory points. We've destroyed 3 bombers, so we have a total of 8 victory points. We have 4 fighters in the fate box. So as it stands right now, we're qualifying for a victory. But now, at the end of the second round, the escorts come and try to ruin our day. So as long as we don't lose more than 4 or more fighters, to the escorts, we should have this. So let's see what happens. At the end of round 2, we roll a die. Draw Luftwaffe advantage cards. So if it's a 1 to 6, we get 3, 7 to 10, 4, 11 to 12, 6. So let's hope we don't get that. As long as we only get 3, we'll have the victory in the bag, so to speak. So let's see how many we get. Now watch, we've been rolling low all this time. Now we're going to roll a 12. 9. I think that's 4. Yeah, so we get 4 Luftwaffe advantage cards. Let's get those shuffled up. And then these will get assigned to random fighters. So we'll just do a die roll for that. And looks like we have 8 left, which makes sense because 12 minus 4 is 8. So we'll just do like a 1 through 8. If we roll anything higher, we'll just re-roll. All right, let's see what we get for the first one. And I'll just do them one at a time and resolve them. Well, I'll set all 4 of them aside, I guess, and then we'll resolve them one at a time. I don't need these in the shot anymore. It doesn't need to be in the shot. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. So who's going to get our first one? 3. 1, 2, 3. It's going to be yellow 3. So we're going to kind of slide over here a bit for these dog fights. So our first Luftwaffe Advantage card is Head On with a Rota. And these are the scenario dictates that the escort is heavy 109s. So they're going to be 109s coming at us head on. Fingers off, a green fighter immediately becomes low ammo. We don't have any green fighters, so and that doesn't mean green like he's part of green section. All of green sections in the fate box, but it means a green pilot. All right, so let's see what we get here. Now we need our Hurricane dogfight cards. Let me get those shuffled. And as long as we can shake these in the first round, either, well, we won't be able to destroy them, but we could potentially hit one and then they vanish or something like that. But as long as we deal with them in the first round, we won't lose contact with the bomber formation and could potentially stay around for a third round of the bomber cycle. If we're still engaged at the end of the first round of dogfighting, though, then we become lost contact because we spent too much time dealing with the escorts. The bombers have flown on and we've lost sight of them. Or maybe not lost sight of them, but at least aren't close enough to engage. Just shuffling the head on and tailing deck. All right, so we are head on, so we draw from here. So we're using this half. We're going against 109s and we are a lone fighter. So they do indeed vanish. And we get a hit. And it is a Fuselage 5. And so the dogfight remember, for the dogfight cycle, after each round you resolve your hit checks. So we'll do that now. And we need to roll a 5 or higher for this to be trivial. No, wow. These hit checks are terrible. So he goes in the Fuselage fate box. That's 5 now in the fate box. All right, next Luftwaffe Advantage card. We need one of these to at least not end in a fate box, or else we will not have our victory. Okay, so we've got 7 now. So let's see who's going to get this one. 1. It's going to be red 2. All right, and red 2 is being tailed by a Rota of 109s. Stay on them. If the German fighters are 110s, they are not a veteran, which we don't have a veteran either. Can replace this card with an RAF Advantage card. All right, so we are being tailed. We have the option to do a maneuver. We're low ammo. We don't really care about getting fighter kills in this scenario. We just want to make it out of here. So I think we're going to evade. So we draw 2 tailed cards. We get our choice of results. Looks like they're going to be equivalent. So single fighter against the 109, so it's this bottom left corner. So they either vanish and we take a hit, or we take a hit and they reduce. And then because we evaded, we would also get another reduced result. So these are equivalent results. They go away and we suffer a hit. And hopefully it's trivial. Ooh, it's going to be tough. Rudder 10. Nope. That's 6 fighters in the fate box. He goes in the rudder fate box. Wow, things were looking so good. All right, next one is going to be tailed by a Rota, and it is a heavy escort, so it's actually going to be a Schwarm. So let's see who gets to deal with that. We'll do divide by 2 this time. It's an 11. Where was that roll for my hit check? So that's going to be number 6. Which is blue 3. Whoops. So blue 3 is being tailed by a swarm of 109s. And again, I think evade is probably the right call here. Let's see what we got. Turn would have been nice. So hit or hit. I guess we'll take a hit. And they get automatically reduced because we evaded. It's a rudder 8. So hit check. 6. Wow. It's going to be up to our last guy to try to survive his dogfight. Hurricane 3 goes in the rudder box. Or Hurricane 3. Blue 3 joins red 2 in the rudder fate box. And then lastly, tailed by a swarm. Madness. Section only and green pilot only. Well, we don't have either of those, so that won't apply. So the lucky fighter is going to be tailed by a swarm of 109s. Let's see who that's going to be. We'll do divide by 2 again, and if it's 11 or 12, we'll just re-roll. 8 is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yellow leader. Tailed by a swarm. Yeah, I mean, our only options for maneuver, since we're not a section, is evade or, I guess I should have been using these markers, evade or turn. I don't think we want to turn, especially not with no ammo. So we will evade again, hopefully get something that doesn't provide a hit. Nope, they both do. Well, at least we can make them disappear with this one. So vanish and a hit. And let's hope they can shake this one off. Otherwise, we're going to have a Pyrrhic victory, I guess. Ooh, it's an elevator 10. Yikes. Yes. All right. Clutch. Yellow leader for the win. All right. That leaves these 5 fighters still in the bomber formation, because remember, he resolved his dogfight in 1 round. So he did not go lost contact. But at the start of a bomber round, which we're starting now, 1 or more RAF fighters may return to base instead of approaching a bomber. And since no one has any ammo and we already have the victory wrapped up, they are all going to return to base. And let's just reconfirm everything here. So we started with 7 Keta in the formation. Only 2 were left, so that means we isolated 5 of them. So that's 5 victory points. 6, 7, 8 for the 3 destroyed bombers. And we have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 fighters in fate boxes. So we just barely scraped out a victory by gaining more VP than we lost in RAF fighters. That will be a victory for scenario 9. Tally ho. Now let's see what happened to our brave fighters. Let's clear all this out of the way here. Bring our interception map into view. And see what their fates will be. All right, we'll start with the yellow 3, who had a fuselage hit. He's a Hurricane, so 7 through 12, a little bit easier to land. Let's see if we can get this in the shot. There we go. He gets a 3, so he catches on fire. So now we need to roll on this line to see what happens to him. 8 or more, he bails out. And that is a 12 hiding under there. So he does manage to bail out. So his pilot would get placed in the bailout spot and would have to sit out the next patrol. Next we have green leader, needing an 8 or higher to be able to land successfully. And he gets a 5, which again causes fire. And then he needs a 10 or more to bail out. And he gets a 4, so he would get sent to the hospital. And then on the following turn, you would roll to see if he gets discharged, which means he's basically out of the RAF and have to be replaced, remains in the hospital, or returns to duty. Okay, now let's slide over here. We've got green 3 with an engine hit, so a 10 through 12 to successfully land that. Nope, 8 means he crashes. So we follow that line to here. We'll need an 8 or more to bail out, and at least more than a 2 to not die. And that's a 1 hiding under there. So the pilot of green 3 would be placed in the KIA box and hopefully get replaced. All right, then we have yellow 2 with elevator damage, a little bit easier to land, 7 or higher, and no chance of catching on fire. And he got a 3, so he does crash. 4 or higher, though, he can bail out. And he got a 5. So pilot of yellow 2 bails out. Green 2, same situation. He rolls a 3. He also crashes. The plane crashes anyway. Oh, and he is killed in that crash. So another for the KIA box. Then we have 2 planes with rudder damage. Red 2 needs a 6 or higher to land successfully. He gets a 4, so he crashes. And 3 or higher to bail out. Pretty easy to recover from rudder damage, apparently. So he manages to bail out. He would have to sit out the next patrol. And then blue 3 gets an 11, successful landing, and he's ready to go back out. All right. Well, that concludes the bomber scenarios for Skies Above Britain. Thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you in the next episode where we tackle the intercept scenarios, which is really only one scenario. Scenario 10. Oh no, I'm sorry, there's 2. Scenario 11 then is escort, and then there's just an example for how the whole patrol fits together. So this is the last of the This will be the last 2 learning scenarios. We'll get to see how the entire intersection sequence works. So that's pretty exciting. Fairly involved, as you can see. And then once we do that and review the patrol example, we'll be ready to start a campaign. So again, thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next episode.